So now let's have a look at an example. Let's say we have a graph that looks like this. And our aim is to describe the gradient of this curve. Okay, so what do we do now? We have a curve and we want to describe its gradient. So again, what you need to do is to be able to describe the gradient of this curve, we look at different points on this curve. Let's say these are the points that we think of, okay? So if you think about these points, if you draw lines, straight lines or tangents to each of these points, you will be able to see the gradient of this curve at those points. So here you can see that all lines that are drawn on this side have positive gradients. So we call this all positive. Okay, so these all have positive gradients. This is going to continue until you get to this point at the very top of this graph. At the very top of this graph, you're seeing that your curve is changing direction. And here you have a gradient, okay? And this is your gradient. As you can see, your gradient is flat, which we said always means that your gradient is 0. Now, if I here to these points, I draw my tangents, I will see that the gradients are all decreasing here, and therefore I have negative gradients. Okay, so if I was to draw this a bit better, I would say that, okay, the gradient here is 0. At the very top point, it's 0. Then all this side is going to be a positive gradient, and on the right-hand side, it's all going to be negative. Okay, so now we'll do the same thing for another curve. So let's say I have a curve that looks like this. Okay, now I'm trying to find out what is the gradient of this curve doing. Okay, so at this point, firstly, what you see is that here you're changing direction, here you're changing direction, and here you're changing direction. So again, changing direction means you were going up, 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 then you just stopped there, and then you decided you're going to go down. The same here. You were going down, then you stopped, you started going up, and then you started going down again, okay? So these are the points where your curve changes direction, okay? So at all of these points, you can see that if you draw the gradient, they're all going to be 0, okay? So this is 0, 0, 0. And then again, if I draw gradients on each of these parts of the curve, so these are supposed to be tangents, which mean that they're going to only touch at one point. But okay, so these are the kind of points that you have and the kind of gradients that you're going to have. So here you can see that the gradient is positive, again because it's increasing. Here it's decreasing. Here your graph is again increasing, therefore it's going to be a positive gradient. Here your graph is and your curve is decreasing, therefore it's going to be negative gradient. And you can see it anyway. If you draw the tangents, you can see that the tangent is showing you either the gradient of a positive line or the gradient of a negative line.